am I to tell these stories? I always thought of myself as, I'm just this white person, some kind of European ancestry. I realize now there was a whole civilization that was pushed aside so that there could be space for my ancestors. I know specifically which group of indigenous people was displaced so that my great-great-grandparents could settle there. They built a little homestead on the wide open prairie and they farmed. There's this little island of trees that they use to protect themselves from the wind. When you stand out there and you hear the wind, you have this feeling of being alone and vulnerable. You think about what it is to use the space in a way that is in concert with it, to survive. If you're interested in social justice, Indigenous people just come up over and over again. You can go and find stats and you can find really sad stories. But ultimately, it always comes back to, why do people feel so hopeless? Everything with Indigenous people comes back to the land and the colonial history that separated them from it. I'm trying to share stories in a way that's respectful as they were shared to me. The last thing in the world I want to do is continue this brutal outsider culture of collecting people and their experiences as some kind of trophy.
Something is wrong with this photo. Something is wrong with your whole show. Everywhere I go solo, seeing everybody show no respect and no electric.
I want people to see people that I photograph as individuals and catch a spark of their humanity so that they can relate to the situation. Ultimately, I want people to be compelled to make changes and to support political change if it comes to that. Standing Rock is a place where the Dakota Access Pipeline was rerouted to go through, just north of the reservation and across their water supply. The Lakota people have a prophecy about the black snake that would stretch across the land, and it would usher in a time of great sadness for their people. A lot of people interpreted this pipeline filled with black oil as something to pray against. I can't remember how many tribes ended up coming. It was well over 200. It was really a powerful moment of solidarity. This idea that people would come together and stand in support of the same issue and not let it be ignored was incredibly powerful. So that's when I decided I really needed to go. All they're really asking for is for the agreements that were made to be respected. I also wanted to represent what was actually at risk. When pipelines fail, you don't want them in your water. It's not something you want to drink, right? They're in this camp where they have access to ceremony and traditional foods. It becomes this healing place where they have a chance to remember who they are as people. I wanted outside people to see the prayer. I wanted them to see the land and the sense of place. all the complexity that was Standing Rock away from the riot line. Because of Western context, it got understood as a protest camp, which it wasn't. It never was. The people are there to pray. There was plenty of situations where people who were empty-handed were showered with quote-unquote non-lethal weapons. There was a man in a t-shirt and it was below freezing. And he had his hands up in the air and he was praying in his language and just being doused with freezing cold water. People started fires to keep warm because it was bad, like life-threateningly bad. You could die. There was tear gas. There was pepper spray. I saw tasers, rubber bullets. It didn't feel like an interaction with a police force. It felt like an interaction with the military. It was a symbol of how colonization is visible and present and is not a historical memory. A lot of the media coverage was over-focused on the issues with the police and the violence and the conflict, that I think it was just really easy to miss the real meaning of what was happening there. They did put the pipeline in. The camp is not there. But the things that were made there are not physical. It was like watching thousands of people have an idea all at once. I don't think that Standing Rock was an ending. I think Standing Rock was the beginning of something.